Welcome back, NoDQ Galaxy, to a brand new edition of the NoDQ Review number 162. And I am Virtue, being joined by this week's elite panel. Of course, Aaron Rift is here as always. Jargo is back. And of course, San, you are back. What's going on, the man of many voices?
Glad to be back per my usual introduction. Hey everybody, San Goshuaku here, ready to discuss the world of pro wrestling.
Good to have you here, and you know how this goes. Hopefully we'll keep it around an hour tonight, but we sent you the topics, and we got some good ones as always. Jargo, what's up? Long time no see.
Man, I tell you what, I don't have that much energy. Holy crap. What's going on, guys? I'm happy to be back and looking forward to Full Gear and New Japan's Battle in the Valley. It's a great weekend to be a pro wrestling fan.
Now, Jargo, you were telling me that's going to happen on the New Japan app right after Full Gear this weekend.
Yeah, there might actually be a little bit of overlap between the two shows, depending on how long Full Gear goes. So make sure that you take your nap on Saturday afternoon. It could be a long night.
Jay White's on that card, so therefore I would have to say it's a must-watch. All right,
that's Ishii, absolutely, that's a must-watch.
That's the guy they call the Switchblade, Aaron, from New Zealand, I believe. Aaron, what's up?
I'm doing pretty good. Happy to have Jargo back with us. Happy to have Sun with us once again. It's going to be a fun night of wrestling discussion. As Jargo mentioned, we have Full Gear this coming Saturday. We have a lot of interesting topics to talk about, a few holdover topics that we were originally going to discuss last week, but we had all that breaking news. It'll be nice to get to some different topics this week because pretty much everything last week was just about the releases. And happy Veterans Day. Thank you to everyone that served. I'm ready to get this show on the road.
You got a super chat already. You want to get it out of the way?
Oh, yeah, let's get to that. Psycho Jet Black with the $2 super chat. Let's see if this is about Ricochet. He says, when is Slim Jargo dropping his mixtape?
Came out about a year ago. You can find it on Apple Music and Spotify. Just search Left 4 Dead, the number 4, and you can hear my old band right on there. The album's been out for about a year. Thanks for keeping up, you freaking slackers.
Well, there you go. Psycho Jet Black probably thought it was just a joke question and he would not get a serious answer.
That is fabulous, Jargo. Wow, that was great.
PhD.
Nice plug, nice promotion. And hey, and it's the beginning of the show, but let's get the show on the road. I've been waiting to talk about this topic, and we got more news since last week as I bumped this off the show. But good old Bray Wyatt, Windham Rotunda, is out of the wrestling business for now. And, you know, I had to go back on Twitter, and I went back 5 or 6 years, and there's been other people that suggested, hey, dude, this guy, he's got a creative mind. I'd like to see it outside of wrestling. Well, we get to see that now because he is working with, I believe the guy's name is Jason Baker, and he does some stuff in the horror movie industry, and this is going to be a feature film. And I don't know if Bray's going to be a main character, if he's going to be behind the scenes, but he's going to be working on this project. Now, I get it. The Hollywood horror industry in 2021, it's different than it used to be. You still have your main budget movie, your big blockbuster movies that go to the theater, but you have exclusives for the streaming. You have Redbox, you know, the underground stuff. I don't know how big this is going to be, but I'm excited for Bray to do something outside of wrestling. And look, Aaron knows it, Son knows it, Jargo knows it. He'll be back in wrestling at some point. That's what he does. But what's everybody's thoughts here? And I am pulling for him. Whatever this is, I hope it's something that blows up and we're like, wow, this is something big. Son, because you haven't been on in a while, I'm going to come over to you. The guy's creative when it comes to the spooky stuff. Hate him in wrestling for whatever, but he's creative at it.
Yeah, I am looking forward to this. I always love when the wrestlers are able to go beyond pro wrestling and be able to accomplish something outside and just show their talents. And honestly, I'll say this for anybody out there. I go by myself. If you've got multiple talents out there, don't limit yourself to just one thing because you never know where life can take you. So explore all options. And I feel like this myself. I originally wanted to be a manga artist, but then I transitioned to filmmaking and acting because I felt that just drawing and writing for one story for a long period of time would limit my creativity. Whereas with filmmaking and acting, there's multiple ways you can go with that, and I think that's what Bray Wyatt might be at. He probably looked at wrestling and realized, yeah, I could make one character and go for multiple years, basically, creating that character over and over, reinventing him. But what if I can make it into the movie industry? What if I can go in filmmaking and create multiple characters and make a name for myself that, hey, I can play this character, I can play that character. So I think he's really looking at expanding what he can do, and if he makes it big, I'm all for it. Let him go there and join The Rock, Cena, Batista, possibly even Sasha Banks, making a name for themselves. And as you mentioned earlier, Virtue, he can definitely always go back to AEW. I could see where Tony Khan might work out a good deal with him where he can come back and recreate the Fiend character in a new way, and through there, maybe he makes sporadic appearances so he doesn't get stale really, really quickly. So have him come in for one big program and then leave to go ahead and do his film feature. So I think he's definitely talented enough. And I'll end on this. I was asked a question before earlier, I think it was a couple of years ago, what two wrestlers do I think would excel in Hollywood? And my two picks was Alexa Bliss and Bray Wyatt. And even Alexa Bliss is looking into doing something with acting later on after her WWE career. So I think it looks really good. He's creative enough to pull it off.
Now, son, he doesn't have to get like The Rock and John Cena. I would be happy if he stays in the horror bubble and does some work with Rob Zombie, Eli Roth, Clive Barker. I don't know, all these guys that are still alive making stuff. I grew up with Freddie, Jason, Leatherface. Where are today's, for this generation, where are their iconic horror characters?
Yeah.
That we could have something here. Jargo, just what do you think here, man?
Well, I think one of the problems with horror movies is the woke media and the people that watch horror movies. I mean, my God, they freaked out about Michael Myers killing a bunch of firefighters. We had to remove that scene from the latest Halloween movie, right? I mean, just like absolutely absurd. So Bray Wyatt, I never liked the fit of Bray Wyatt inside of AEW because I always thought Bray Wyatt is great until the bell rings, and then we have a little bit of a problem. On that AEW roster, I never really felt like he fit. The best fit inside of pro wrestling to me is over at Impact, where he could do all kinds of weird, crazy stuff. Why even bother with the wrestling part? If he's got a Hollywood in, absolutely take it. I mean, you could be looking at the next like Rob Zombie going out and making just crazy, absolutely insane horror movies that are not in the side of the mainstream and thus don't have to compete with the mainstream standards that Hollywood is putting on everything.
Yeah, and there's so many possibilities. Like, I'm sick of remakes. Like, we've seen so many Texas Chainsaw Massacres. And, his body structure, his type looks exactly like a Leatherface, which would be great if they did another reboot of that and he got a role like that. But I want something new and fresh. But don't get weird, like do wrestling stuff. Just go full on and create something for this generation. Aaron, I know you're big into the horror stuff. You love Halloween,
Yeah.
October, all the scary things. I hope something comes out of this and it's not just a one and done. He's there and it's being talked about. That's a start.
I agree with that. And I've always talked about, I've said this many times on the videos, I think timing is everything. And right now people are expecting Bray Wyatt and AEW. Why not explore some other avenues, try some different things, see how the acting goes, see how the filmmaking goes, and then maybe come back next year to wrestling when people are not expecting it. You have all these new people coming in, Bryan Danielson, CM Punk, Adam Cole. You got potentially more people coming in that were just released. The timing might not be right for Bray Wyatt. He's coming into a place that is very crowded potentially with AEW. Yeah, he could go to Impact Wrestling, but I really see Bray Wyatt's act working the best on a big stage. And I think right now he should see what else is out there and do what he wants to do with his free time and try some different things. And then maybe a year or so from now, he can come back into wrestling. But either way, I think he will find something. The guy is extremely creative. I think he'll do all right. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. He says, a Ricochet promo is scarier than Halloween Kills.
The best Ricochet promos were cut by Prince Puma when he said absolutely nothing at all.
There you go. Now, Virtue, The 2018 Halloween, this is kind of going off topic here.
Yeah.
Didn't Michael Myers spare a child? Like there was a little baby and he did not kill that baby?
Correct. But he also did kill probably a 10 or 12-year-old and strangled him in that same movie, which I don't think the old Michael Myers did in any of the movies. So that's kind of he spared a baby, but still killed a younger kid.
Yeah, that was weird to me. Like, if Michael Myers is pure evil, why did he spare that baby? But anyways, that's a whole other topic. Caleb Jacobs says that Bray Wyatt is the new Michael Myers. Yeah, he could be. He could be that.
I just want a new – I mean, in the 90s, they at least got the Scream Ghost. Like, you know, some of that was cheesy. I Know What You Did Last Summer, right? That's cliche 90s stuff. But, like, what has there really been since 2000s? Remakes. It's all been remakes.
Yeah, we haven't seen like a new horror movie iconic character. Bray Wyatt could be that guy. Maybe he'll make it work.
And of course, you know, if that blows up and he does well, I mean, sorry, Vince, you know, I'm doing better without you. Tony Khan will be signing that checkbook. It'll be great for him because somebody's going to want him. Somebody will pull him in the more success he has outside of wrestling, and then he'll be able to let that vision in his head go the right way. And I know people gave him a hard time in WWE. That's how WWE portrayed him. We don't know what his vision of his characters truly was. And if WWE allowed that, those haters of Bray Wyatt might have kind of somewhat liked him. I'm not saying he would have been Undertaker, but Undertaker did some hokey crap over the years, and he's an all-time legend. Let's see where this goes. All right, next topic.
Wait.
Yeah.
Real quick here. Mo Camera sent in a $2.79 super chat. He says, shout out to Aaron, Son, Mr. J, and Son, his favorites. That is all.
And I appreciate him saying Son, Aaron, because that's part of the NoDQ review. And I don't know if Mr. J was Jargo or not. So Mo Camera, thank you, because I put these panels together every week. And thanks for putting the panel over I put together. You are the man.
I got one more comment here. There's people in the chat that are talking about House of 1,000 Corpses and the Devil's Rejects, and I think they're missing the point. We're looking for the monster, not necessarily the movie.
Like you
and
had,
Rob Zombie.
Dr. Satan!
You had like Frankenstein's monster, Wolfman, Dracula back in the 30s, and then you had the Hammer remakes, and it wasn't until like the 70s and 80s you started seeing the slasher films being made, and then we had the remakes again.
Rob Zombie World of 1,000 Corpses, that's a play, his play off of Texas Chainsaw. So it's not the same, but so that's.
But we're kind of looking for like that iconic, a new era horror franchise character. Now, Psycho Jet Black sent in one more super chat here. Says, can't wait to hear Bray Wyatt's shoot interview.
Same.
Definitely.
Yeah, that one will be one for the ages for sure.
And maybe in this movie he'll have some cryptic stuff, so wrestling fans might want to tune into it. That'll be fun. Again, we got to see what happens with that. Aaron, on Raw. So is Kevin Owens now feuding up with Big E? Is this the path that they're taking? And we know Big E's this baby face. KO plays his best role as a heel, right? I mean, I think we can all agree on that. So I want to go around the horn here, because is this being done just so, hey, on his way out, because he's not going to resign, and we don't know, but let's put him up against our top champion on Raw, and he'll be a heel, and we'll job him out. Like, to me, this screams this is what Owens is going to do until he does not resign and he goes over to the other company. And again, he could stay, right? We don't know. Jargo, what's your thoughts here on this turn of events?
Well, yeah, he could stay. And, as the saying goes, or monkeys could fly out of my ass. Mm-hmm. I think everybody and their brother knows that Kevin Owens is going to AEW, and they are going to do everything that they can to damage Kevin Owens on their way out, which is actually just going to make him more over inside of AEW.
Yep, that's a good point. Any chance, so with this said, do you totally see him just jobbing out to Big E here, or could we be surprised? Hey, you want to stay? We'll put the title on you. I mean, you never know. I mean, you said. They
normally try that tactic, but they normally do it a bit before the contract is going to be coming due. This is getting awfully close. And I think this is one that's just a foregone conclusion. I mean, like, everybody just knows that Owens is going simply because Owens should have been there already. Like, we all kind of question when Owens signed that 3-year deal, 3 years ago almost, and AEW was right on the horizon. We could kind of see it coming. Everybody expected him to go then. This just seems a foregone conclusion, and they're going to try to damage him on the way out. But Owens is the type of character that the AEW fans are just, they're not going to care.
And I think that, he'll have good matches out of it. I don't think they're going to be like silly squashing him or anything. Son, what do you think?
All right, so I actually did not watch Monday Night Raw because I just feel like with the WWE, it feels like I'm in that Linkin Park song. In the end, it's like we try so hard to get invested, but in the end, the booking makes it not even matter. That's what I feel. It's a lot like. So the problem is it's just hard to get invested. I mean, I want to so hard, but one booking decision and it's like, then one release and then But that being said, Kevin Owens, we hear that he's on his way out. So I think turning this guy heel and having him feud with Big E, someone to feed to Big E, is a big win on his way out. Just similar how they did Bryan Danielson. How, they booked him as a strong babyface against Roman. He had his last match. He's off killing it right now, I think, in terms of matches with AEW. We'll get to that later. But yeah, I think this is a good way because I think truly Kevin Owens has probably reached his peak in WWE. I don't think they're going to push him any further. And he's a really good talent on the microphone, and he can play babyface and heel extremely well. So, but if WWE's not going to utilize him more than what they have, I think it is time for a change. But yeah, I think this is a good program for Big E. I do like how they're pushing Big E, but like I said, it's hard to get excited about things at WWE because of how they'll just, I like, what's her name coming to SmackDown soon, Xia Li. They got these cool promos for her, but she might not even make TV because they want to release her. So hopefully that doesn't go on, and hopefully we get a good program out of this. But definitely a good guy for Big E to take on if this is going to be Kevin Owens' last heel match or whatever in WWE.
Well, and you brought up Danielson. Also, don't be surprised if Big E beats him and that's it. Like, they just send him home and keep him off television altogether.
Right.
And let's face it, Adam Cole's in AEW, and look what they're doing with them. But he's happy with wife, well, soon to be, right? She's pushed to the top of the card on the women's side of it. He's with friends, right? Kevin Owens, go over there. Why not make the same money I'm making over here, but with friends and a better chance to get to a big main event? I can't blame him. Aaron?
Let me get to a couple of these super chats. Walter Cruz sent in a $2 super chat, says KO is the new Big Show, flip-flopping heel and face. Well, not quite true. He's been face for a couple of years now. I think this was something that was warranted. I think Big E needs some heel challengers first and foremost. Why not turn Kevin Owens heel? He's been face for a couple of years, and ultimately I think Big E's going to win. Whether Kevin Owens stays or goes, I think Big E's going to get a win over KO. And yeah, it might be time for KO to go, because if he does stay, what else does he do after putting over Big E? What's left for him other than just doing the KO show and just kind of doing the same thing? If he goes to AEW, he's got a whole new crop of opponents, and he caters to that audience, the fans that love the indie wrestling. KO is one of those darlings from Ring of Honor, PWG, and so forth. So yeah, I think he'll probably go to AEW, but again, nobody really knows except for him what he's going to do. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out. Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat, says, doesn't Rollins have a title shot before Owens? Rollins can I guess it's kind of like Money in the Bank, sort of like he can just call his shot. How does it work exactly? Is anybody paying attention to this? Does he have to announce when he wants it in advance, or can he just come out randomly and say, I want my title match? Like, I'm not even sure if it's like Money in the Bank or not. I'm not even sure if they made it clear. Just he can get a title shot pretty much whenever he wants.
We're not even sure if they know how this works.
Good point. But my gut feeling is it'll be Big E versus KO first. KO will lose. It kind of reminds me of when Diesel turned heel against Shawn Michaels in 1996, right before going to WCW, and Diesel put over Shawn Michaels on the last pay-per-view. Kind of feels like that. KO and Big E will have a good match, competitive. Big E will win, and that'll be the swan song for Kevin Owens.
So, Aaron, this was going to be just a filler topic, so let's just get it out of the way. I'm thinking we brought up Seth Rollins, and we see his current gimmick, and him and Becky, with the baby, they're all on one show, and their dress, I told Jargo this on another show a week or so ago. They are owning their sports entertainment side of themselves. They know where they're working, and they know what they need to do to still stay relevant, whether they're in the main event or not. Obviously, Becky is. Seth's always close. With that said, I think they're lifers. I know Seth Rollins is in that Ring of Honor group, and could he go to AEW? I think him and Becky almost can write their ticket to their paychecks to WWE at this point, and they're embracing it, and they're probably popping Vince McMahon with the clothes. I know Russo's out there on Twitter like, Seth, what are you doing? Nobody gets your gimmick. He's wearing that stuff to pop Vince McMahon. I think these two are lifers just by looking at how they're embracing sports entertainment. Jargo, we kind of talked about that a little bit. Did you change your mind on it?
Nope, I haven't changed my mind at all. When it comes to Seth Rollins, I don't know the guy personally, but I know guys that know him personally. Mm-hmm. Seth is from about an hour away from where I live, and he lives outside of his grandparents' house. Like, he's got a house right next door and everything, just outside of Davenport. So Seth hears everything that everybody says about him, and Seth is a little bit insecure. And Seth knows that people think that, Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world, or Kazuchika Okada is the best wrestler in the world, or this person is, or this person is, or that person is. And it wasn't too long ago that Seth was on that list. And I think that kind of eats at him, that he is just, oh, you're that WWE guy who, goes out and you wrestled the WWE style. And I think there is a very real chance that when his contract is up, he says, you know what? I have plenty of money. I'm going to AEW, and I'm going to prove all these assholes wrong. I think that there is part of Seth Rollins that feels that way as an artist deep down underneath. There's a little bit of Tyler Black that kind of stews in the pit of his stomach. And you see it when he goes at guys like Ospreay on Twitter, right?
Yep.
I think there is a very real possibility that Seth Rollins could leave WWE. And by that time, I assume Charlotte will already be inside of AEW. And boy, would it be a coup for Tony Khan to have Rebecca Quinn come in and face off with Charlotte after, they hadn't been in a ring together for a couple of years. And she's just following Seth over to AEW. I could see that. It doesn't seem as absurd as it may just at initial thought.
Well, hell's freezing over. I just saw what Aaron posted on there by Mr. Tito. So, Jargo, I get it. Like, I see your opinion, right? I'm not going to poo-poo on it. Seth main evented a WrestleMania, beat Roman and Brock. As a single man, I see that scenario you just said play out. Being with Becky, having child, who also headlined a WrestleMania, if it ever happens, I'll eat crow. They are WWE lifers all the way to the Hall of Fame. Son, what do you think here?
Yeah, after the Big Show and Mark Henry left WWE and they were with them respectively for 20-25 years, I gotta agree with what you hear most wrestlers say: never say never. Bingo. However, when I look at the landscape of things, there's been a lot of talk about reinventing, and that's something that Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch have certainly done. While I would have much rather preferred a more natural story of Becky Lynch turning heel, maybe she comes back and loses to Bianca clean, and then she's like, no, I want my spot, and she gets more dastardly and angry, and we can build that story of jealousy. That would feel so much more natural. But I will say I do respect that Becky Lynch wanted to come back and not do the same thing that she did. She wants to do something different, and that is the key to longevity success a lot in pro wrestling. And so even Seth Rollins, he's much different than what he was last year, now doing the whole drip god thing, and they understand that concept. And as long as they continue to know to constantly evolve themselves, I think they're going to be in WWE for a long time. That's why when it comes to someone like Charlotte Flair, even with all the alleged backstage stuff, I think if she's going to just stick with the same arrogant queen gimmick, she's going to get to the point where it's like she's done everything there is to do in AEW, just like Bryan did everything there. I mean, no, I don't know if I said that right. She's done everything that she's needed to do in WWE and is going to want to go to AEW for something new, like Bryan did everything in WWE and then went on to AEW. So yeah, I could see that. If they go to AEW, maybe years and years when they're towards the end of their career and they just want to do something fresh before they call it quits in wrestling. But I think the way things are looking right now, we'll see them for years to come. But then at the same time, you never know with all these
and
releases.
You're right about that, right? You never know about wrestling. CM Punk is back. So with that, I get it. But I'm going back to Seth Rollins now. When the Shield broke up, he got the first push over Roman, right? We all thought it was going to be Roman. It was Seth.
All right.
So I don't know. I mean, Aaron, what do you think here?
Hey, he got the clean win over Brock too, something that till this day Roman has not done, and I don't know why they don't book that.
Yeah, that was the same WrestleMania Becky won the title at, right? Seth
but
led it off with Brock.
Yeah, he won through like a low blow, but at SummerSlam that year he got the 100% clean win. But still more wins than what they've done with Roman over Brock.
Aaron.
Yeah, I mean, you guys all made great points, and I think that what Son said makes a lot of sense. Nobody's safe. I was thinking the same thing with Big Show and Mark Henry. I'm not sure anybody's truly a lifer, with a few exceptions. Roman Reigns. Somebody in the chat room asked about Brock Lesnar. I don't think Brock Lesnar is ever going to AEW.
Undertaker. Yeah.
Brock Lesnar goes to the highest bidder, regardless of who it is. If it's
Which
Dana
will always
White,
be
if
Vince
it's
McMahon.
Tony Khan, if it's Vince McMahon. Brock Lesnar goes where he's going to get the least amount of dates and the most amount of money.
Yeah, but I don't see Tony Khan ever outbidding Vince.
No.
I mean, I see people. Yeah, I don't. You're right on that. Somebody in the chat asked me if Lesnar would ever go to AEW. Vince won't let it happen. Vince will dip into his own pocket of his own shares to never let that happen.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. Seth Rollins and Becky Lynch, I think they will probably stay with WWE, though. Seth Rollins has a storied history with WWE, and there's really no need for him to leave. They've utilized him well. They've always utilized him well. Same thing with Becky Lynch. And I really don't see anything changing. Like maybe 5 years from now, things could be different. But in the foreseeable future, I don't see either of them going anywhere.
I just wanted to add on, you can tell too with the booking, Vince McMahon clearly, when Becky Lynch started the whole man gimmick, that she clearly won him over. I think she even said when she won the title WrestleMania, she went up to Vince and said, "I'm the man now," and he said, "Yes, you are." And he's let her have the championship until other than when she was away. And look, when last year, I just wanted to finish on it. We were wondering last year, when Seth, Becky, and Roman all left, is there going to be heat? Hey, he put the title right back on Roman, let him have a long run. He put the Intercontinental title back on what was it, Sammy? He's still doing that, and then he let Becky just come right back to where she is. So yeah, clearly he favors them a lot.
All right, we're going to talk about some AEW here, and this was one of the topics we did not get to last week because of the releases. But I was going to go around and ask, how has CM Punk, and we know what's coming up here at Full Gear this weekend, but how has CM Punk and Daniel Bryan both fared so far in AEW, for better or worse? Now, at Full Gear this weekend, it's going to be Bryan Danielson versus Miro, and the winner gets a shot at the AEW World title, and CM Punk is mixing it up in a personal feud with Eddie Kingston. And look, right, big names. We kind of see, the ratings really just kind of have stayed like nobody's really needle moving like you thought they would. So I don't know if that's because of how they're being booked, or it's just AEW is not going to draw outside of the casual wrestler or the diehard wrestling fan, Jargo. we got these two guys here, and you and I were talking about this earlier. They are overshadowing the other big match at Full Gear, which is Omega and Adam Page, which is supposed to be their match. So how do you think those two have done to this point?
Two very, very different kind of scenarios, right? I mean, Danielson has come in and immediately he's thrust into a match with Kenny Omega. Good match. I don't think anybody was complaining. We get the Suzuki match. That was a good match. Nobody's complaining. The Kingston match was very, very good. Everybody seemed to enjoy that. And I'm sure this weekend against Miro is going to be freaking fantastic. It might be the match of the weekend, right? Danielson is absolutely killing it, going out there and having the types of matches that Danielson wants to have. How long he can keep up this pace is going to be something interesting to kind of see. And once he actually gets into a full-on creative program, because right now his character is just going out there and having killer matches. There hasn't really been a whole lot of creative involved in it, right? So I'm interested to see where Danielson goes, especially once we get to see a bit more of his personality, because he's wrestling kind of like a dick. He's kind of acting like he's heel Danielson. It's just the people really, really seem to like it because we haven't seen it in so long.
Right.
But we'll see how long that novelty is kind of there. Then on the other hand, you have Happy Phil, right? And Happy Phil is on his, we just came back from retirement tour and, hi, everybody, you want to sing along with Cult of Personality? Woohoo, yeah, I'm back. And now we're finally starting to get a little bit of, somebody finally pissed CM Punk off, and we're getting a bit of a creative program with Punk. It's been slow and steady with Punk, which I think is fine while he gets kind of reaccumulated into the ring, because I mean, you can't just drop him in there against Omega like you did Danielson. Like,
right.
There was just no way that was going to work. So as Punk is starting to kind of settle in, and hopefully we get the full-on heel turn soon, even though I feel like he turned heel weeks ago. It'll be interesting to see where Punk kind of falls in line, because at this point he is still undefeated, and it's only going to be a matter of time before he starts finding himself in the ring with those top 5 kind of competitors. And then how can he hold his own? It's going to be interesting to see this match with Kingston, because this is going to be very different. Like, this is going to be a fight. It's not going to be, technical reverses and we're going to pull out some jujitsu. It's going to be go out there and punch yourself in the mouth. And I'm interested to see how Punk responds.
Marshall Leonard in the chat asked me if I think Kenny Omega will ever go to WWE. That has as much chance of happening as Roman Reigns going to AEW has a chance of happening.
Kenny Omega does not work inside of a WWE context.
Yeah, so that's what I'll say there. All right,
I'm not sure he works in an AEW context.
And in a Japan one, yeah. Son, I want to get I'm just like pissed. I am. So Punk and Bryan, right? That I can say Bryan because his first name is Bryan. I get what AEW is doing with them and appealing to their fans and slow burning it. We got plenty of time. But you want to, Tony Khan, you want to take shots that you're equal to WWE or better, and you get both of these guys, and here like your ratings are under 1 million for your flagship show. Shame on you for not making these guys feel more important. And I get it, right? Let's put Adam Page up there. He's going to face Kenny Omega. We got to build our own stars. Dude, you get two guys like this, and I'm not saying we needed to see Hall and Nash, okay? And then have whoever Hogan join them. I'm not saying that, but the casual fans don't give a shit about AEW. And those two guys, because they were big deals in WWE, even though they're indie darlings, had a little bit of casual fan base that kind of was drawn to them because of the people they worked against in WWE. And here Tony Khan is blowing it. He's blowing it, son. I'm sorry. You can defend AEW if you want to here. Look at the ratings. He's blowing it.
Well, hey, man, when it comes to me, I once said on here that, when it comes to both companies, I will criticize both. And then if they're praising, doing something really good, I go ahead and praise them both. I often find it feels like what AEW lacks, WWE has, but then what WWE lacks, AEW has. I am enjoying the AEW product on a more of a consistency, just because they don't spam the same matches over and over like the WWE does. But on the other side, I want more storylines and more characters in AEW, and that's what I really think they need. WWE, they have good matches, like I said, but they spam the same ones, and right now it's like Roman Reigns is the biggest thing that stands out, and then there's people like Bianca, who I think could go on to a big mainstream star, but then you see how they booked her in that whole Becky Lynch story. So often that's the biggest issue with AEW. So getting to our main candidates here, though, CM Punk. Yeah, I enjoyed when he came back. I wanted him to go right in there with MJF, because the way I like to think about wrestling, just as a fan, because we need more mainstream stars. We need to get wrestling to be able to cater to that mainstream audience. And I'm thinking, okay, MJF, CM Punk, these are two guys that can talk the mic and have them go at it. I understand why they did Darby Allin first, but then they went into CM Punk doing this slow burn thing, and I thought, okay, they're going to do this Ricky Starks thing. Him and Ricky can talk on the mic, but they just had him beat Hobbs, and that was it. And as we got closer to Full Gear, I told my friend about this, like, I'm the only one who kind of feels this is unacceptable to not be featuring a storyline with CM Punk heading into one of your biggest shows of the year. Now to do that, I'm glad we're talking about it this week, because if we did no DQ last week and I was on there, I probably wouldn't have much good to say. But now they did the Eddie Kingston promo battle with him, and that was really good. I think someone in the chat even said they thought that was better than anything WWE's put out, and honestly, I agree. This, in both companies, we need more promo battles, more storylines like Eddie Kingston and CM Punk. That is the type of stuff that I feel like I could show somebody who's not a wrestling fan, and they're just going to be so caught in how emotionally intense these guys are, they want to check this out. So more of that. I mentioned Bryan Danielson earlier. I said he was killing it, and that's from a in-ring standpoint. Match-wise, I think it's been excellent. I love how he's defeating opponents with different submission moves each match. Keeps things unpredictable. I love that. There was the Suzuki, was it from New Japan, because I don't really watch New Japan as much, but the Suzuki matches they put on, I thought that was really good, but why not put it on the actual Rampage show? You were going to do it commercial free, you were doing commercial free anyway. That would have been something big to introduce him to a whole nother audience. So it just feels like a lot in AEW, they do a lot of slow burn. Like Miro, he was doing this gaming stuff, and now they're getting him to being this monster. Brody Lee, when he first came, they had the cool championship match, and they weren't doing much, and then they had him finally defeat Cody. So I love to see just them speed up the process a little bit more. But that being said, I just think add more storylines. They've got a good job going right now with the in-ring. The in-ring stuff is good, but put more storylines, more of that into it. And while we're on the subject of AEW, I hope that they do indeed have Hangman Adam Page win and become the first basically talent that they've had from the ground up to win the championship. So AEW has gone, they've done tremendously well to get to where they are during this pandemic. Just push the storylines more so that we can start pushing those ratings above 1 million, because right now this is the biggest chance we have to having some sort of true competition to the WWE.
Well said. Aaron, I shouldn't go to you last all the time. Anything else you can add?
Well, I mean, it's hard to follow that up. I mean, very well said, son. I agree with you with pretty much all of that. Let me get to this super chat from Johnny Boy. Says, do you ever see guys going back to WWE, like when Bryan and Jericho gets out of their system? Do you think that they will go back? I think so.
Jericho is a high
sure
candidate. He because he's buddies with Vince McMahon still.
Yeah, I think Jericho. And by the way, I'm going to go on a limb and say Kenny Omega will end up in WWE one day. 10, 15 years down the line, I think it's going to happen.
Wow.
Jericho, yes. Bryan, no.
That's the never say never Aaron's using. Jericho.
I mean,
I think for that, maybe if Vince is no longer in charge.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's hard to predict 10, 15 years from now what the landscape of the wrestling business is going to be like, but pretty much everybody has ended up in WWE at one point in time. And even though he's an EVP, anything can happen 10, 15 years down the line. Things change. Shane McMahon, the son of Vince, left the company for a while. He left for 6, 7 years and then came back. So Kenny Omega might not be an EVP forever. It's hard to say.
The Jericho thing, Aaron, I so believe that because he wants to do that. He wants to trick those fans and pop them one more time. And I'm not saying he's doing this on purpose, the way he's slowed down in the ring and his physique. But I could see him leaving AEW, staying away for a bit. My buddy DDP, his buddy DDP, get back in WWE shape, and then boom, out of nowhere, there's the Jericho return, and the people are popping, and he looks like he did before. And he writes another book.
You know what's
writes
weird
another book.
You know what's weird about Jericho, though? Like, when he comes back, like, to me, I one thing they've done really well is having Judas as his entrance. Like, that is a totally unique thing to AEW. Mm-hmm. If he goes back to WWE, like, it's going to be weird now hearing Break the Walls Down. Like, people are going to want to hear Judas, but that's an AEW thing, and they're not going to do that. So that's really interesting. Like, if he does come back, what music would he come out to? And people would want Judas, but Judas is an AEW thing. So that's one thing that AEW has done well with Jericho. They took that Judas song, and that's totally an AEW thing, not a WWE creation. We need more of that in AEW. And Punk and Bryan, to sum it up, I think that they've done well so far. It's been a slow build, as you guys have mentioned. I would have liked to have seen CM Punk right in there with the top names, but I get it. It makes logical sense. He's got to work his way up. He's been out of wrestling for 7 years. It's not like he was at WrestleMania. Daniel Bryan was at WrestleMania. So he's coming right in. Makes more sense for Bryan to get in the mix with Omega, and he's doing the match with Miro. I think Bryan's probably doing better than Punk. The problem with Punk right now, in my opinion, is that he just doesn't feel like anything special. He just feels like another guy on the roster. And maybe that's
Think about that. Think about what you just said, Aaron. We should not be saying that about CM Punk.
Right. He doesn't feel like he's anything special. He just feels like another guy on the roster who's got some star power, but he doesn't feel like that next level guy that he was in 2011 or even 2013.
I would just like to point out that if Kenny Omega is going to go to the WWE in 10 to 15 years, I think Tony Khan is going to say, go knock yourself out, 53-year-old Kenny Omega. Get that payday.
Exactly. Hey, the 50-year-olds are doing well in WWE. They're winning world championships over the Fiend.
See,
and that's why their ratings are in the toilet.
Someone mentioned Tito likes Break the Walls Down better than Judas. Someone mentioned the King of My World theme Jericho used a while back in WWE like 15, 20 years ago. That was a good one.
I'll pop if he comes out to Even Flow.
It might have been by Saliva, but like at some point, AEW talent will be going, some of them, to WWE. It's just going to happen. WCW talent started going to WWE back in the day. It's just going to happen. It's business. That's how business works. It's a revolving door.
Yeah, and what CM Punk and Daniel Bryan are doing, it's good long term for AEW, but at the same time, like, nobody really feels, and this is a WWE problem too, nobody feels like a larger than life superstar. Everyone just feels like they're all at the same level, kind of, and we don't have that guy that like feels like he's from a different planet, like he's not even a human, like he's this superhero. We really don't have any of those types of characters anymore, and
nope.
Maybe I'm just out of touch and too old now, but when I was growing up, like, I was into those guys like that were like the superheroes, and they had those larger than life personalities. Now let me get to a couple of the super chats here. Johnny Boy sent in a $5 super chat. I already answered this one, so never mind. All right, where's that other one that I was going to throw up? Okay, Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, WWE casual fans do not watch or care about AEW. Well, that's very clear. If you go on the NoDQ comments section, you can see that firsthand.
WWE casual fans also do not care about Monday Night Raw or NXT 2.0.
It's pretty much just SmackDown because of Roman Reigns and the Bloodline.
And because of broadcast television.
Yeah.
Hey, I just wanted to add in this thing, it just shows you the importance why story goes a long way for both companies, WWE and AEW. Even if you have CM Punk going against lower card guys, create a big story why this person really wants to take on someone like CM Punk and why CM Punk is determined to make sure they don't win. A little bit of story goes a long way.
That's true. Hey, Aaron, what was that picture you posted with the Samoans? It was the Usos, Roman, and who was the fourth guy? The younger picture of all of them?
I'm not even sure which.
But you said, what boy band name is this? I know what the boy band name would be.
What would it be?
Go to Aaron to acknowledge us. Wouldn't that be a good boy band name for them? But anyway,
Yeah.
It's main event time. And of course, I did not expect to talk about this, but both Undertaker and The Rock kind of, Undertaker did the never say never jargon, right? That's what wrestlers do. But like they kind of shot down that they're ever going to wrestle or work again. But there's Saudi Arabia shows, there's WrestleManias, there's a WrestleMania in Hollywood in a couple of years. The Roman Reigns is related to The Rock. We got possibilities here. So what's the likelihood that either one of them, and Undertaker is retired, I get it. He hasn't had his Hall of Fame though yet. Neither has The Rock. What's the likelihood they wrestle in one of the next two WrestleManias? I mean, Dallas are going to try to break the fake record again. I mean, we could just get an appearance. Son, I'll start with you this time. But usually when I see people shooting things down, like The Rock, it's a red herring. I mean, it's just so weird that he said that, right? And you know how all those people that know everything about Hollywood are, The Rock can't, his insurance company won't let. Yeah, okay, that's when he's filming movies. We don't know The Rock's schedule. He can have time free up. We don't know what him and his agent have planned. Why did WWE tweet a picture of The Rock and Roman and said who would be a dream match for? I don't remember if they said it was a dream match for Roman or The Rock, one or the other. After The Rock said, nah, I'm probably not going to be able to do it. Just, son, big time money. WWE's freeing up all this cash flow. Time to pay Dwayne. Time to pay Undertaker for a WrestleMania appearance.
Man, Vince McMahon gets desperate enough for WrestleMania, especially if The Rock can't show up. Certainly, I think we can expect him to break out the big butts. Obviously, they've freed up a lot of money with all their releases. So in terms of The Rock, yeah, I hear a lot of stuff. That's what's happened over the years. The insurance policy. That's why his last match that he had with Eric Rowan, it was just a 6-second squash match where The Rock took no bumps.
Timing is everything too, right? We don't know, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's possible if he can't make it in. I remember Steve Austin always saying that if he ever came back, it takes 4 months of continuous training to get back into ring shape. So The Rock also has to find the time to make the train. He can't just like, okay, I'm going to be done filming in March and I'll come in April. Oh, you need more than a month to get in the ring shape for a main event.
He could be doing that and we don't know it too.
He could be.
He could be doing it when he's not filming movies, going to the gym, going to a ring. His family. Meet up with family, working on ropes, bumps.
The WWE does also send ring out to certain talent like they did with Edge and Taker. I'll say this. If The Rock does not show up, this is why I kept stressing all these months the importance of WWE needing to make new stars. Always have some people in the background, but they hot-shotted Big E. Big E was the go-to person that I was thinking of.
Did they hot-shot him, though? Because we've been talking about he should be pushed for a long time now.
I think, yeah, he definitely deserved to be pushed, but I thought they hot-shotted him becoming champion because I was thinking, like, okay, what if The Rock does not work out? Don't go back to Brock. I'm like, keep Big E with that Money in the Bank at least until WrestleMania, so that way, at least we can say, hey, here's a guy that everybody's been on, that's been on the roster, everyone can get behind, and you can push him versus Roman, but now they've put the title on Big E, so there's another direction. And now we're left where it's like, oh, now they got to go back to Brock again. And I'm always for pushing the younger and new talent, well, even if not younger, just new talent to keep more and more stars. That's why I always go back. Where would this company have been when Steve Austin went down if he did not have The Rock and Triple H built up? So The Rock, if he does come, awesome, because it's where the storyline needs to go with him and Roman Reigns. If not, I don't know what this company is going to do, honestly, because I think they're just going to go back to the well with Brock Lesnar, and I think that's going back to the well too many. And then The Undertaker. So he even said at the end of his documentary, basically, that he might, if Vince calls and the offer's good, he didn't want to say no. And you got to imagine in Mark Calloway's mind, it comes up every now and then, man, the crowd is back. I didn't get that chance to wrestle in front and go out in the crowd, but then he doesn't want to because what if he stinks out the joint? Now he's got to go in that endless, continuous
squash match.
rant.
All they need to see is the entrance in a tombstone, right?
Could be. But I stand on this right now. If they're not going to do Sting versus The Undertaker, obviously we're not going to get that with him being an AEW, and I think they could probably put off a decent 10-minute match. I think the best bet is definitely have Taker go in at the Hall of Fame. I think that would be perfect for this year's WrestleMania, and maybe he can give his true farewell speech to the audience. But yeah, when you look at the landscape, man, it's coming back on WWE. All the years of not building up new stars, it feels like they gotta go. I'll be honest with you. In my case, what would get me to want to go to WrestleMania? If they brought Stone Cold Steve Austin back to wrestle Roman as the replacement for The Rock, that would be big. That would probably do some huge business. And for someone like me who grew up in the Attitude Era but never got to go and see Austin the show, I'm like, okay, I want to go because I want to see my all-time favorite in the ring in person, which I never got to see. Anything other than that, I'm not going. So we'll see what the WWE does for WrestleMania 38 this year.
But son, Vince McMahon is trying to he's revamped NXT. He's trying to catch lightning in a bottle again. Gable Steveson. Do I have another Kurt Angle? He's trying, like, you can tell now they know they need stars. Like, they're gonna, but he's gonna do it the Vince McMahon way. Taker, Rock, if it happens, if it buys time, like buys that little extra time. Yes, Cena's always floating out there. You know we're gonna see Goldberg. I'm calling it. Goldberg and Riddle will have a match at some point. It's gonna happen because I just know it. Gut feeling. Jargo. I know you don't really care. You're probably like, whatever. Get rid of these guys. I want new, fresh people. But what do you think here, man?
Well, you're partially right. As far as the wrestling part goes, yeah, I want new people. But when it comes to, I do expect Undertaker at WrestleMania. I do not expect him to wrestle. Like you said, all you really need is the entrance, right? Yeah. So this is what I would do instead. I have the class of 2022 for the Hall of Fame be The Undertaker. That's it. He is a class all by himself. And there's all these people that people are listing inside of the chat room. Who makes the speech to induct The Undertaker? All of them. You make the entire night about The Undertaker. You bring in Austin. You bring in Kane. You bring in Vince. Bring in Hunter. Bring in Shawn. Bring in everybody. And just do an entire night devoted to The Undertaker. And then you can have the big send-off at WrestleMania.
That's perfect.
I do not expect Dwayne this year. I expect Dwayne next year in Los Angeles at SoFi. But yeah, that's kind of where I am with the Kane, Undertaker, Rock. I don't have any use for any of these old guys coming back to get into the ring just at WrestleMania season. I've always been against that. Like even the Austin thing. Yeah, that'd be cool. But I think I would rather just see Austin talk for 15 minutes about the Undertaker, you know?
The Undertaker stuff worked. We're coming back just for WrestleMania through the Shawn Michaels and the Triple H matches. And who did he get after that? Punk, I think, once. And then who was that? Lesnar when he lost. Right after that, it was just kind of like it should have been done, right? I get it. But, right, people pop for that entrance. Aaron, what do you think?
Well, first of all, Jargo, I love that idea about The Undertaker. That would be really cool to have him be inducted by himself and have all those people appear and do speeches for him and have the fans there for it. And I know some people are arguing, Undertaker didn't get to retire in front of a live audience, and that could be the reason for him to come back so he could have one more match. He doesn't need to have one more match. He can come out with the entrance. He could choke slam Sami Zayn, as somebody mentioned, and people will be just as happy. They'll be totally satisfied with that. Same thing as if he had come out and done a match. Yeah, he could choke slam Ricochet. Ricochet could turn heel.
And he could bounce a couple times afterwards.
Exactly. Or he can, go up top and do some kind of flip and get caught with the choke slam, and that's that. So, yeah, Undertaker, I think will definitely appear in some capacity. Probably not wrestling. He'll just show up and make an appearance.
Especially with it being Dallas.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good point.
And they need some star power for this show if they're going to fill up 2 nights in that stadium. And that's where The Rock comes in too. Like, he's a guy that could definitely move those numbers, but he acted like he's not going to be doing this WrestleMania match. He pretty much shot it down in an interview. And I think the general thought process is that if he comes back, it will be for WrestleMania 39 in California, which is fine and dandy, but what are you going to do for this coming WrestleMania? Looks like it's going to be Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. And I have a feeling that Ronda Rousey is going to come back soon, and she'll fight Becky Lynch, and that'll be the main event of night 1 of WrestleMania, and then Brock Lesnar and Roman Reigns as night
Mother
2.
versus mother. That'll be that. I could actually see them billing it that way.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, I would like to see The Rock come back, but I don't think it's going to happen. Undertaker, I definitely think they could do stuff with him without him actually having to get in the ring and wrestle.
Well, there you have it. Dude, it's under an hour. This is awesome. Now, I hope the NoDQ Galaxy doesn't mess with me right here, and they plotted this out for this little after dark thing they like going. But another great discussion. Does anybody else want to add anything before we do our rounds and close the show?
Yeah, I'll just say that
Okay.
I hope that Vince McMahon is going to, even if this is his vision now with NXT, that he's going to push some of the wrestlers like Rex Steiner. I refuse to say Braun Breaker, or if I think that was his previous name. But yeah, I hope they push them, because if they don't, then who does Vince McMahon have to blame? Because right now, like I said, I think they've lost a lot of benefit of the doubt, and the ratings reflect that. But when you're making as much money as they are, how much of this money is fan generated? So hopefully we'll see. I hope that these wrestlers in NXT do make it over now. Like I said, no matter what it is, whether it was Triple H's NXT or Vince's NXT, we need new stars.
You bring up the money, and that is a good point to bring up when it comes to The Rock. Because why do you save The Rock for another year? To get another year closer to negotiating those TV deals again, and you can bring in The Rock to help push subscriptions. So you got a little bit of leverage going into these negotiations, because right now they've got nothing.
Could you imagine if they do get The Rock, but it's the year they're in Los Angeles and Roman still has the title that whole way?
That'd be nuts.
We just don't. I mean, we're never going to have Bruno again, but that would be something. And you're going to have the fans that'll get pissed off. Everybody's getting buried. But they have the other title, right? So it's not a complete waste.
Right.
It's not like there's only one main title that they're holding hostage with the heel. But I don't know. We'll have to see.
Hey, with the lack of stars they've got built up, I'm okay with Roman having a 2-year run, because I don't think we haven't had a 2-year run since Hogan, so this might be their only chance to actually have somebody in the last 20 years or so have that 2-year title, and that gives them more time from the beginning of next year up to around SummerSlam or September to build somebody up.
Yeah. I'm just hopeful that they can keep Roman fresh. The problem is he doesn't really have any strong opponents, as we've talked about.
I feel like the problem is an indictment of the rest of the roster, not an endorsement of Roman Reigns, that there's just nobody else on SmackDown. When you look at that singles roster on SmackDown, there's basically Drew McIntyre and everybody else.
Can you guys hear me okay? Did I come back?
Yeah, you're
here.
Okay.
You're here.
So anyway, let's do our plugs. We know how this goes. This could last another 5 or 10 minutes. Yes.
We already got some super chats.
Did you? Well, all right, then go ahead.
All right, Walter Cruz sent in $10, so I think we should acknowledge him. He says, Woods' idea for Survivor Series, winning team fight for the first 5 spots in the Royal Rumble and losing team fights for the last 5 spots. But that's it. 10 spots doesn't leave room for a lot of surprise opinions or a lot of surprises. I guess he's saying like the winner of Survivor Series, the winning team would get the last 5 spots in the Royal Rumble, and the losing team would get the first 5 spots. Is that what he's trying to say here?
Yeah, that might be
I'll say this.
I see what he's saying.
I agree with the notion that even if whether it's the idea he proposed or if that was Xavier Woods' idea, I think he said, have these matches be for something and not just we're just doing 5 matches or random matches. Yeah, have there be some consequence. That's why I've enjoyed the tournament matches on AEW, because it's not just Bryan and random matches now. It's him actually advancing closer to that world title.
Yeah, there's no stakes in Survivor Series. This would add at least a little bit of stakes to it, so it actually mattered who won and who lost.
And I actually told Jargo on another show, I'm giving AEW props because I don't care about Survivor Series. I mean, Roman, I want the other, him to beat the other champion, but nothing's on the line. He's not going to carry both belts. At least AEW's show, there's things on the line.
Yeah. I would like to see something on the line. I did think about this, and as far as the Royal Rumble spots go, I'm not the biggest fan of that just because I like the surprises, especially at the end.
Yep.
And if you just say, okay, 5 guys get those last 5 spots, like then it kind of takes away a little bit from the element of surprise. But the general thought process is that they should have something on the line in those Survivor Series matches. Now, Matt, all right, Matt's going to make us use up all of our good topics heading into WrestleMania. He says potential opponents for John Cena at WrestleMania. I'm not even sure John Cena is going to be there. I mean, he might.
I think he'll be there as just a quick little promo. He'll come out, do the salute. Maybe he'll be like the initial host or something.
Does anybody care?
John Cena fans.
Well, no,
I
mean, at this point, the thing about Cena at this point for me is like absence makes the heart grow fonder, and Cena hasn't been gone that long. Like, would anybody necessarily care? Is it really going to push any kind of business bringing Cena back at this point? Would anybody care?
I think it would sell tickets.
I was gonna say, I think for me, this would probably be one time I'd like to see WWE and AEW make a deal, bring Max Caster over against Thugonomics John Cena. That should be an interesting promo segment.
Match I want to see Hiroshi Tanahashi versus John Cena. I wanted to see that match forever.
Well, Psycho Jet Black sent in a $2 super chat. Says Max Caster versus Slim Jargo in a rap battle.
I'd bury that mofo.
Woo!
All right, now we got one more here, and then we can do our plugs. Psycho Jet Black with a $2 super chat says, can Drew McIntyre reach Roman Reigns' star level?
Nope.
I don't think so. I like Drew a lot, but I'm not really sure that he can get to that point. Like he's done well for himself, but I think he reached his peak probably.
The highest he got was when he eliminated Brock Lesnar in the Royal Rumble, and he got that pop. But unfortunately, COVID happened, and he couldn't get to that championship with that same crowd. That sucked for him.
Best thing I said, I think Drew will be right up there with Roman, though. When you look back on this era, he'll be up there as one of the top guys.
Ooh.
The only way Drew McIntyre gets over to that level is if they decide to make a new Highlander movie.
And it's not Drew's fault that I say that, son. It's because Roman has Vince behind him, and he always has. And Roman's headlined 5 Manias. I said when he's all said and done, he'll have closed 10 WrestleManias. Yeah. That's big. McIntyre will never be there.
I mean, Drew McIntyre as he is right now, no. But could he potentially reinvent himself?
Right? Never say never.
Yep. Same way that not John Cena, but Roman Reigns reinvented himself. Drew McIntyre, you never know. If he changed up his character and something caught on, it's certainly a possibility. But I think Drew McIntyre, as we've been seeing him the last several years, I think he's past his peak unless he does some kind of significant change up to his character.
I think the problem with Drew is he is a giant man playing a babyface, and he does his best work as a heel where he can dominate people. It's awful hard to work from underneath when you're 6'10".
Yep, good point. There you have it, folks. It's the NoDQ review number 162, another great episode, and I already see chat coming in. But let's start our plugs. Son, thanks for coming back, as always. Go ahead, I'll start with you.
Yeah, gentlemen, thank you for having me. Always a pleasure to come on here at NoDQ and talk wrestling. Jargo, was awesome to do a show with you. So, yeah, you guys can find me, as you can see, SONGOSHUAKU is my name, Son Goshoaku, and you can find me on YouTube. That's where the majority of my content is. As you can see, a screenshot from my upcoming short film, Battle Deception. I'm 9 years in on working on this as a one-man editing crew, but I said I will see this project through to the end, so you can go ahead and check that out if you're a big anime fan and like my live action take, original story, wrote, direct, edited, all that stuff with it, play the main character right there. So yeah, check it out, and as well as all my other acting and voice acting related content. And you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook, all those social medias for updates. And as always, once again, NoDQ, thank you all for having me, and definitely keep supporting NoDQ.com.
Cool, thanks for being on. All right, over to you, Dr. Jargo.
Sorry, evidently Drew McIntyre is only 6'4". He just looks 6'10" versus all the other WWE midgets. You can find me across social media platforms at NotJargo, MichaelJargo.com, DestinoPod.com. I'm pretty much sitting in this chair all day, every day, the way that it seems.
All All right. Thanks for being on. And over to you, Aaron. I saw one more chat come in.
All right, so this could be the last one of the evening. Psycho Jet Black, I think he started off with the super chats tonight, so he's fitting to end it. He says, "Who's more over, Ricochet or Highlander 2?" Highlander 2, I think.
Mm-hmm. Anything not Ricochet.
All right. Well, that's all I got.
All right. Well, be sure to go to nodq.com/merch because there are some shirts over there. I think he still had, Aaron, you still got some stuff on Pro Wrestling Tees too as well. Some of the vintage Virtue shirts are over there. I don't think Aaron migrated them all over yet.
No.
But anyway, it's Black Friday and all that's coming up soon.
Yeah.
The holiday season, so that's why I mentioned it.
We'll have a sale up pretty soon for the T-shirts. And by the way, just the quick plug, of course, don't forget, everybody, this coming Saturday, I will be posting live results of the Full Gear pay-per-view on NoDQ, and then I'll be back afterwards for the live recap. That's going to be like at midnight. Tony Khan did confirm that it's going to be a 4-hour show. It's going to be long, man, but I'll be on afterwards to give my thoughts.
For the record, Highlander 2 made $34 million. Highlander 2 definitely more over than Ricochet.
Boom.
There you go.
With the facts. But anyway, if you dare follow me on Twitter at NoDQ_virtue, at least just to unfollow me after I say something that you can't stand. That's my gimmick. I love doing it. The Troll Slayer, the Debate King, Virtue's Rage, Fire Virtue. But this is all about the team, and this review will be back again next week. So for Son, for Jargo, for Aaron Rift, I am Virtue. Thanks for letting me get out of here before 9:30 Eastern, everybody. Good night.